News media is extremely sensationalizing. There are one or two channels who've clearly said that Khalid's work is too experimental, it's too artistic, it's too slow. Media is an industry, but it's an industry different from, say, let's see, the shoemaking industry. Here, there is a responsibility also, or at least there should be a sense of responsibility. You are reaching out to millions of people. You are affecting their minds, their value systems, their thought processes, and therefore you have a certain responsibility other than just to entertain at any cost. Small producers like me were just shoved out because the mode of payment became such that you start getting your money after a year or so of investment. The Seth was totally unhappy with he said, "What are you doing? What kind of stuff is this? And this is nonsense, and we don't want any such thing." The same thing happened with Talqiyan. The web system will, in due time, replace television channels.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Curtain. And today I'm honored and thankful that I have a visionary with me on here. I will not waste much time, but I will definitely give the floor to my host Khalid Ahmed Saab is here with me today on Behind the Curtain, and I'm excited because I was wrapping up the seasonal run, and I got in touch with Khalid Saab, and he was kind enough to give me the time, and I understand he's busy. But the thing is that Khalid साहब, firstly thank you so much, आपने टाइम निकाला इसके लिए.
Thank you.
um, I'm not sure कि आपने इस तरह का सेशन मेरा देखा है नहीं देखा है. I've been trying to speak to the seniors of the industry, the professionals of the industry, writers, directors, producers. और जो मेन फोकस होता है वो ये होता है कि जो हमारी छोटी सी इंडस्ट्री है वो किस तरह शुरू हुई थी, किस मुकाम पे पहुंची है और क्या हम प्रोग्रेशन की तरफ जा रहे हैं. So if I'm to ask you that you an actor par excellence, a writer par excellence, a director, and if I the first question is that just in a nutshell, how would you define the Pakistani media industry?
You mean the whole media industry, including news and entertainment, everything?
Generally, yes.
Very active, but below the desired mark. News media is extremely sensationalizing, not even on the path of truth mainly, but it provides entertainment through the cockfighting that takes place between various politicians or political representatives. So that has become an entertainment show. As far as the entertainment industry is concerned, the good and serious music shows that used to happen in the days of PTV are not there anymore. Um, it's mainly substandard music, and the serials have become a pattern, stories set on a or one or two, three formulae which are followed closely. A bad woman and a good woman, and a man with two wives, and the wife being encouraged to accept it with her large-heartedness, etc., etc. This all kind of given formula, and that is what really goes in the Pakistani media these days. innovation or creativity or social realism is discouraged by the channels, and the writers are forced to write formulas. I think that is the situation.
Okay, but sir, if I'm to ask you if they are forced to write the formula, there was once a time where probably creative innovators sat together to work on new ideas. So has that diminished completely, in your opinion?
Yes, completely. It's
So,
very rarely that a good script finds its way sneakily into the production, but by and large, the people sitting there and the people who are controlling content on television are people who ask for and accept only formulas, and in fact, uh, they are totally unaccepting of anything new or creative. Um, that's the way I feel.
have you tried reasoning with them, being part of the fraternity and the industry, or do you find it unnecessary?
Unnecessary. I have been, in fact, shunned by the industry. And there are one or two channels who've clearly said that Khalid's work is too, um, what? It's too experimental, it's too um, artistic, it's too slow. For me, these are all compliments, but they take it as negative traits and therefore not to be accepted or included.
So if that's how they think that you, I mean, you're saying you've been shunned. Do you know that you've been shunned, or is this an assumption?
No, with certain channels I know for I have the news, inside news that I have been shunned, yes.
Okay, so but I do understand that work comes around, and you somehow mold yourself to perhaps make something which is the requirement of the industry. So you don't feel it necessary, perhaps content can change to meet the demands of the audience from your angle.
I don't know, this audience mm, business is quite questionable also, because that is usually the explanation given to everything, that what can we do about it? This is what the audience wants. But I think that the audience has not been given a choice. Even just yesterday, I was reading somewhere, or it was in the television, that even the advertisers feel that they are not given a choice. What they are offered is usual run of the mill formula things. And then the other thing is that, see, I'm sure this is an industry. Media is an industry, but it's an industry different from, say, let's see, the shoemaking industry or the clothes making industry. Here, there is a responsibility also or at least there should be a sense of responsibility of. So profit surely is a guiding force, but should not be the only guiding force. Um, because you are reaching out to millions of people, you are affecting their minds, their value systems, their thought processes, and therefore you have a certain responsibility other than just to entertain at any cost. The value systems that are promoted, I think, are very archaic and reinforcing values that should be now set aside and reinforcing things which are not helping the society to move ahead, especially in terms of women, in terms of man-woman relationships, in terms of the role of a man, in terms of the role of a woman, in terms of the role of the haves and the have-nots. So what is being promoted is not necessarily very desirable.
Fair enough. But so how does a creative artist like you, who's probably worked at all angles of the industry, how do you survive?
I work very little in the industry.
Okay.
I There was a time when I used to produce also, and I've produced various series for various television channels. But then slowly came a time because that became impossible. Small producers like me were just shoved out of the industry, and only the very big wigs with a lot of cash to invest were could survive, because the mode of payment became such that you start getting your money after a year or so of investment. Now someone like me who's put in just a couple of lakhs, that which is all I have, if I get my return after a year or even more and in very small packets, I cannot reinvest it into the new venture. And therefore, a lot of independent and small producers like me were totally set aside. So that stopped. Then I did some acting off and on. But now the roles that are offered and the kind of scripts that are offered do not appeal to me. Uh, One, there's a problem that, at my age, there are always fewer roles, fewer possibilities of a good role. But here, an old man like me only sits on a sofa and arranges or rearranges who's to get married to whom and who has to not get married to whom, and arranging marriages and making matches and getting that kind of a side role, which do not appeal to me. If there is a role for an old man, if there's something meaningful, if there's something meaty, if there's something that I would really want to do, then sure. But Most of the time it says that आप बाप हैं और आपकी भतीजी की शादी फलाने से होने वाली है, और तो आपको पसंद नहीं, आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी फूफी के बेटे से हो जाए, तो आपको भी, I said forget it, you know. That is the kind of things that one is offered. So the last time I acted in a television serial was years ago. Off and on, I have somehow had the opportunity to direct some good, what I feel, things that I wanted to produce. Like, this must be 8 years ago that I directed Talkhiyan, written by Beagle, which was an adaptation of God of Small Things. And then one or two other things like Pehchan, and then the last thing that I did was Dilara with Bold Television. But all of them were, for certain reasons, were accepted by channels but not promoted by them. They were kind of whoever their manager, whoever was. In one case, it was Nurul Huda Shah who accepted it. But later on, it came to light that the Seth was totally unhappy with. He said, "What are you doing? What kind of stuff is this? And this is nonsense, and we don't want any such thing." The same thing happened with Talqiyan. They never promoted it. And the last thing that I did, Dilara, was became a victim of what happened to Bold Television. Generally, in any case, its collapse. So that's the way it has been. And so I have mainly concentrated on theatre. Did this web series with Asim Abbasi recently, and did a film with Sakina Sammo recently. But that's about all. I do very little television, and I have now little patience with the kind of things that channels make, and this kind of 10 to 12 scenes per day formula. you know, um, if I'm very sort of forced by circumstances, forced by economic necessity, then perhaps I would go and do it. But as long as I can have enough to feed myself, I do not feel the necessity to go and do that. So I have been mainly teaching and producing and writing, translating for the theatre. That has been my.
Fair enough. Obviously, I'm well aware of everything that is happening. But and of course, this is good education for the audience, and of course, anyone who's young out there. Now, you did mention the medium of web, which is Trudell's. I did watch it. There's a hue and cry about the type of content that comes out of web, and they say that this sort of content goes against our tehzeeb and against our culture, and this is not for Pakistani audience. Do you see as this as a way forward of things to go?
Yes, I think web has offered new possibilities, and at least now, for now at least, web series, for whatever they are worth or whatever, are a departure from the normal television serials uh, that come on TV. Um, Also, I think the viewership is different, and the youth of today, the young people, uh, watch it a lot more than they would watch local television channels. and they find some reflection of their lives, the life of today, of the youth in it. There will be good and bad, and there will be things that people object upon and things that people would accept, but it's all a process of experimentation.
Right.
I think everything has, if it is not offensive to anybody's beliefs and etc., if it is not targeted at anybody or anybody's ideologies, then it should all be allowed to bloom and flower, and there will be acceptance and unacceptance of certain things. But I think it's all in a good, towards a good purpose. I think web is still a possibility where good things, most of the web is crap,
Okay.
but
Okay.
a different kind of crap. Most of the web that comes from India is also crappy, but now at least a different kind of crappy. It's not Saas Bahu wala crappy, you know? And, you
Okay.
know.
Uh, Absolutely fair enough. But okay, so mostly focusing on theater, being a in theater enthusiast as well. Is that a thriving industry for upcoming actors, directors, writers?
No, no. Theatre is always a mm, kind of a losing job in terms of rewards, monetary reward. It's very demanding. You have to rehearse for a month or 6 weeks and then perform for 10 days. And what you get is a pittance and effort that you put into it. But yet it has an attraction that people get hooked onto it, those who are in it, and they do it despite um, the low wages that it offers. So it's very rewarding in terms of a creative experience as an actor, as a director, as a writer, in every way. But I wouldn't say it's a thriving industry.
Okay.
Um, mm, I wouldn't say it's a thriving industry, yes. And unfortunately, I feel that good, meaningful theatre was just about to take off. I had reached its takeoff point when Corona happened, COVID 19 happened. And then, of course, everything took a back seat. That was a good time for theatre when this happened. Now it will take a long time for people to have the confidence to come and sit in a hall with 200 or 300 people and watch a live show. However, recently the Arts Council have launched a theatre festival which is ongoing, and their seating is sort of SOP based, two seats between people, etc. But it is well attended, and people are still going to theatre. There is a appeal in a live show. There has always been an appeal for a live show where you're sitting in front of the performers. Yeah.
Fair enough. Do you sense unity amongst the professionals, which are writers, directors, actors within the industry, to make it go forward or not?
No, I don't think there's a platform. There may even be a unity of thought and approach, but there's no platform where there's no active collaboration or cooperation between them. Because, for instance, there's no platform for the writers to come and talk to each other, independently of any channels or media houses, etc. So, um, a lot of them, if you talk to them, would be voicing the same kind of concern that I am voicing. But it's when you randomly meet them here and there. But there's no platform to bind them together or to make their voices forceful enough to be heard.
So, if there was a platform, do you think they'd actually do something about it and we would progress as an industry?
I think it surely would be good for the industry if
Okay.
they could get together and do that.
Fair enough. And very recently, you won an award as the best actor for your upcoming film Intezar
जी
in
जी.
Harlem Film Festival. Congratulations to you. आपकी स्टेटमेंट निकली कि मुझे अपने मुल्क में कभी भी अवार्ड नहीं मिला है and this is something international. What you trying to say was that the country's merits of judging are not up to standards, or do you have no expectations when it comes to giving the right sort of
No, actually, I said something different.
acha.
I said that I am so happy to get this award, which is the first award in my life. And so my comment was not aimed at any
Okay.
industry, but the questions that followed were, so you really never been given an award before? I said, no, never. They said, no, in this country. I said, no, not in this country. That's all. So I'm certainly not critical of the awards in this country or the award system in this country. I barely stated the fact that this is my first award. And of course, the media sort of concentrated more on the latter part, which was a consequence of that statement. And I have never been sort of interested in awards as such or any such thing. But I was also happy that this award is given by a set of people who do not know me from Adams, and a set of people who are probably knowledgeable about this work, knowledgeable about acting, about films, about writing. So it was therefore very delightful for me to get a nod from them.
Absolutely, and may you receive and deserve more. Just last question is that how do you see the progression of the drama industry at the moment, considering it's COVID and we are stuck with very little choices? Where do you see this going right now with the current progression of content? How will we stand out? Will we progress further from the golden era of PTV, or will we turn into a good digital industry as well?
Well, Corona proved a setback for all industries, all kinds of work, and especially also for this work where people have to really work in close proximity. with each other. So shooting, although it is happening now, but not at the same rate at which it was happening before. But it's always a questionable thing whether this should happen at all or not, because even though the crew may be in masks and etc., but then the actors who have to interact with each other have to be without mask and have to be, in close proximity also. So that, but regardless of the COVID-19 development that unfortunately happened, I think that in any case, there was a need for it to go in a different direction. And I think that the the online, the web system will in due time replace television channels. Mm, and that has already started happening in India. The best stars, the most expensive stars now work for the web. And web is becoming the leading um, form of drama presentation. And the channels technology is surely sort of lagging behind. And I think it would be unnecessary soon for channels to be there, because you can directly air something through the web. So I think a lot of the channel producers, and that has already started happening, will move through the web, towards the web, and therefore also a certain change in writing style, production style will have to come about. Now, how ready is our industry for that change is a question.
So, are we ready?
Partly,
Early.
but most of the writers who were writing for television channels are not suited to address young, globalized youth of today. They are only suited to, housewives and, that kind of thing. But the young, globalized youth of today is looking for something else. So I feel that a new breed of writers, and that is happening, will come forward and take over.
Fair enough. Khalid sir, thank you. I do understand I had taken a little bit of your time, and
Not, it's nice.
just to sum it up, I mean, I don't have a very huge audience. I just do it for the industry and the. I mean, if there are any youngsters out there जिनके पास शायद एक्सेस नहीं कि इंडस्ट्री किस तरह चलती है बिकॉज मेरा एक्सपीरियंस जो था वो ये था कि I did not know much and I jumped into it. So on closing, some final thoughts of anyone who's watching. I mean, could be a director, could be writer, could be young people from your end. And also एक बात है कि जब when I had messaged you and I asked you I do these sessions, you said कि you have nothing to say. You said I have nothing to say. So that kind of hit me as in why wouldn't you have something to say? उसको भी जरा address कर दें आप अपनी तरफ से कि why not? And final parting thoughts towards anyone who's watching, coming from your side as a writer, as an actor, as a director.
Anyone who's watching as an actor, writer, director, all I would say that You know, for, let me tell you one thing. Well, I want to say that there is a art beyond money making as well. So while you make money through this, also pay attention to your art as an actor, for instance, or a director, for instance, and at least be interested in the medium. Most of the young actors that I meet or have worked with are not even interested in acting per se. They are there because it's glamorous, they are there because it's pays, but they never bothered to read on it or discuss or watch things and find out what acting is all about. So I think I would just encourage them to do that because that would be a very enjoyable thing to do. It will make your work, you make your craft, your profession far more enjoyable for you than it would be without that. So that is what I wanted to say.
Perfectly stated. And on that note, Khalid sir, thank you very much.
Thank
This
you.
was an honor. I'm thankful that you took out time. मुझे खुशी इस बात की हुई कि मैंने आपसे बात की जब से क्लोजिंग से पहले. सो माजरत अगर कोई भी सवाल जवाब कोई गलत हो गया हो, कोई सवाल आपसे अगर it was literally
Otherwise,
my little experience as compared to yours is there's no comparison. But जितना
hmm,
मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया था, मैंने कहा था आपसे बस कुछ सवाल पूछते और इंशाल्लाह
yeah.
फिर आपसे बहुत जल्द मुलाकात भी होगी. And I look forward to your projects as ever. And please take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
On
God bless.